Namaste, Namaste, Thakur ki jai, Friends of Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura ki jai, Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kundara Kundiri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Swarvi Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the devotees. All glories to the devotees. All glories to the devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namam Vishnu Krishna Krishna Utare Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nirvishesha Sri Radhesha. So, last week, I think, we celebrated Nrsimha Chaturdashi. Yes. Not long ago. And as Srila Prabhupada comments, Nrsimhadev did not appear to kill Hiranyakashipu, because he could have done that very easily by his agents, material nature and other more powerful entities. He came to please and protect Prahlada Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada, very early in the beginning of ISKCON, he introduced the prayers we have been chanting now. And as far as I know, it happened after he had suffered a heart attack in 1967. And the devotees were asking, what could we do to pray to the Lord or something? And so he told them they could pray to Krishna, to Nrsimhadev for protection. And saying something like, our master has not finished his work, so please let him finish. And then he introduced these prayers. And of course, Prahlada Maharaj is quite special. He's one of the 12 Maharajas, but he's the only child, 5 years old. So he has become very prominent. Actually, in the beginning, also very early, Srila Prabhupada published a booklet called The Transcendental Teachings of Prahlada Maharaj, where he summarized the 7th canto practically, because at that time we didn't even have Bhagavatam. There was the Indian Bhagavatam with 3 volumes, and then chapters of the 2nd canto. You remember that? Right? That was all. So there was no rest of the Bhagavatam. So he composed this transcendental teachings. So we'll have in these days, during this seminar, the different transcendental teachings of Prahlada Maharaj. There are quite a few. The first part well, let me ask, are we doing all this? Which is, okay, let's see whether we finally get that. Yeah, what are the first teachings of Prahlada? I have 4 parts, just to give you some idea. I have 4 parts. So, part 1, who is he teaching? Oh, great. This is fantastico. Absolutamente fantastico. Maybe this is disturbing. You can put it written on the side if you want to. I want to see Maharaj. He gives me inspiration. Sure. You all know he's the oldest devotee in Germany. In all respects, right? Friedel maybe? Or physically, Friedel? with almost the same age.
No, I was initiated.
No, initiated, no, the body age.
Oh, like middle school.
But only a few months, not much. But he cannot compare to 55 years now, right, of being in the Krishna consciousness movement.
Okay, why don't you continue?
Yes. So, therefore, he for sure knows, but he will not say. Who did Prahlada Maharaj teach first? There's 4 teachings. There he is. But this is not the first one. So, any idea?
The kids? The kids?
No. That's why I'm asking. This is the second one. Before that, who did he teach? Not directly, indirectly. Oh, your mother. The mother or the sister?
Sister.
I was wondering. So, did she tell you the truth? Anyway, so this is the first teaching. To his father and to the 2 teachers, Shanda and Yamarka. So we'll see how that comes. So just to give some very brief overview, Hiranyakashipu had left to perform austerities, to become more and more powerful. Actually, he wanted to become immortal. So in the meantime, the demigods took advantage. They attacked the demons and defeated them. And they took hostage, you would say nowadays, Hiranyakashipu's wife, Kayadu, who was pregnant with Prahlada. And then when they wanted to take her away, Narada Muni appeared and said, oops, no. Because they said, well, there's a demon inside, and when he comes out, we want to kill him, just in case. Preventive strike. So Narada Muni said, no, there's a great devotee inside. So then he took Hiranyakashipu's wife to his ashram and taught her about spiritual knowledge, devotional service. And Prahlada in the womb, he heard everything and he learned everything and he remembered everything. So then, this is his situation. He was one of 4 sons of Hiranyakashipu. And as it is explained, although he was born in a demonic family, he himself was not a demon, he was a devotee. And right from the beginning, he was not attracted to materialistic life, and he was very able to control his senses and subdue all lusty desires. And even he came to the point, sometimes he was feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands. And he became spiritually enlivened. And tears were gliding from his eyes because of his love for the Lord. So then, Hiranyakashipu, who we see here, he had entrusted his education to his 2 teachers, Sanda and Amarka, who were the sons of Shukracharya. And then one day they brought Prahlada to Hiranyakashipu, who took him on his lap, and he asked that famous question. What is the best thing you have learned from your teachers? Right? So, actually now we can do this. What I wanted to do, now it's possible. We have the verse, this is his answer, which we can sing together. Right? Actually, that would be a little bit, because now it's long enough, right? We can put this on this side, which would help me. Sorry. Last disturbance. Yeah, that's correct. Alright, so let's try this. We can go by line by line. Sada samudvina diyam nasatgraha. Sada samudvina diyam nasatgraha. Hidvatmapatam priyamanda rupam. Hidvatmapatam priyamanda rupam. Vanam gatoyat dharman shriyata. Vanam gatoyat dharman shriyata. So, Prahlada Maharaj said, O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there's no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the soul is eternal, and topics concerning the eternal soul are real knowledge. Elsewhere, in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.2, it is said, Apashyatam atmatattvam griheshu amedinam. Those who are attached to the bodily conception of life and who thus stick to a life as a householder on the platform of material sense enjoyment cannot see the welfare of the eternal soul. Prahlada Maharaj confirmed this by saying that if one wants success in life, he should immediately understand from the right sources what his self-interest is and how he should mold his life in spiritual consciousness. One should understand himself to be part and parcel of Krishna and thus completely take shelter of his lotus feet for guaranteed spiritual success. Very interesting, that's his answer to the question, what is the best thing you have learned? So we should think about that. If that is the best thing, how do we apply this in our lives? Because that's just a fact of life. Majority of people, including devotees, will be in the position of a family life. Being married and having wife and children, or husband and children, or no husband but children, something. But, and actually this should not be an impediment if everything is occupied in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Prabhupada says, on the platform of material sense enjoyment, if that is the center, which it is for generally all people, then one cannot see the welfare of the eternal soul. It's just the consequence, natural consequence. Later we will see, I think maybe in the next verse, he will say what is the real interest, or that people in general don't know this real self-interest. Check. It will come later on. Anyway, so this is the situation that one should somehow or other mold his life in spiritual consciousness, no matter what the external circumstances are. And one may have a family or without a family, but one's focus should be how to benefit the welfare of the eternal soul. Just like Sanatana Goswami, when he approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he said, Keami, Kemane, what is it? Tritapatai. Why am I suffering? Who am I? And if I don't know this, he says, then what is the benefit? I may become rich or famous or powerful or whatever one may achieve in the material world, but ultimately the benefit, this kind of benefit will just disappear very soon. One may think when one is young or etc. It will never happen actually. It's so far away. I was thinking like that, not so long ago. And look at me now, 50 years later, I'm this old man. And soon everything will just vanish. So Hiranyakashipu, he was a little surprised. He didn't expect this kind of answer, but he didn't take it seriously. And actually he was amused in the beginning. He was like laughing. And he said, this is the intelligence of children spoiled by the words of the enemy. And he simply told the two teachers, you have to be a little more careful and watch who is coming to the ashram. Maybe some Vaishnavas infiltrate, undercover agents. And go and give him the right instructions. So they did. I mean, they tried at least. They pacified Prahlada and said, dear son Prahlada, they're very diplomatic. They told him, all peace and good fortune unto you. Please tell us, don't speak lies, just tell us, where did you get this from? They had to find out, where is this coming from? How has your intelligence been spoiled with this kind of instruction? This is exactly, as Bhagavad Gita Krishna says, what is night for the materialist is day for the spiritualist, and vice versa. What is night for the spiritualist is day for the materialist. So they think, actually this is a very good instruction he had received from Narada Muni, and they think this is spoiling the intelligence. And they ask, has this pollution of your intelligence has come about by our enemies? So we want, please tell us the truth, we want to know. So then Prahlada Maharaj, now he gives his first instructions. This is after his father giving him one verse, later he will give him more instructions, but now he is instructing his teachers. He tells, first of all, he says, let me offer my obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the first of our obeisances. And then immediately he goes into the first instruction saying that the external energy has created this idea of friends and enemies. It's just a mental, by deluding the intelligence. They're talking about spoiled intelligence, but actually their intelligence is spoiled. It's deluded by this idea that there are friends and there are enemies. And he says, now I'm experiencing this, with you and my father and all this. I've heard this from my authority, from Narada Muni. It was theoretical knowledge, but now I'm getting practical knowledge, Vigyan, just by dealing with you and seeing how you react. And he says, if one becomes a pandit, a real learned person, then there's no distinction between friends and enemies. Because everyone actually is an eternal servant of God. And therefore, we are not different one from another. So, the teachers didn't like that. And they became angry. Just like Hiranyakashipu becomes angry later on, they already become angry and they chastise him. And they say, bring me a stick. This Prahlada is damaging our name and fame, because we are the teachers. If the disciple or the pupil is nonsense or speaking things which are completely against the teacher's teachings, then actually the teacher will be blamed, as Hiranyakashipu did. Well, how is it possible? He has all these ideas. You're not we're being very careful. There's some infiltration. Or maybe you are even speaking certain things which you shouldn't. So anyway, they thought like this. We are servants of Hiranyakashipu, don't forget. And so they chastise him, and they say this Prahlad has become like a thorny tree in a forest of sandalwood. This is how, which is everything is reversed, as we said. What is day is night and night is day. So the actually thorny trees are the demons, but they consider themselves sandalwood. And the devotees are thorny trees. Just see. And then they say to cut down a sandalwood tree, an axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable, which means you are becoming the handle for the axe. Then you will attack us and kill us. So Vishnu is the axe, and the devotee is the handle, and then you are cutting down the family of the demons. So after some time they thought they had changed Prahlada Maharaja's mind. They had purified him. Were their instructions. They were sufficiently educated. So again they brought him to Hiranyakashipu. The mother bathed him and everything. Very nice. Prahlad fell down at Hiranyakashipu's feet, offered obeisances, very humble. And Hiranyakashipu, his father's father, he took him, embraced him, smelled his head, patted him, and was very happy. And he said, so there are so many things I have heard from your teacher. Please tell me, what is the best of this knowledge? Practically the same question. And again, Prahlad will answer with some teaching. So, we'll see what he will say. This is the teaching, very famous. Everybody should know. I think we all know this, no? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktish Chinnava Lakshana Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktish Chinnava Lakshana Niyeta Bhagavati Aratam Manyeditam Uttamam Niyeta Bhagavati Aratam Manyeditam Uttamam. So hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him, in other words, serving him with the body, mind and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. And we can note that the purport to these 2 verses, I think, is the longest in the Bhagavatam. It's about more than 10 pages. Prabhupada gives several paragraphs about each single item of the 9 processes, so it's about 1 page per item, more or less. And so very instructive. And of course now Hiranyakashipu, he doesn't laugh anymore. He becomes really angry. His lips trembling, and he actually calls the teachers again, and he blasts chastises the teachers because they must be responsible. You are most unqualified, most heinous son of a Brahmana. You have disobeyed my order and taken shelter of the party of my enemies. The conclusion, obviously. You have taught this poor boy about devotional service. What is this nonsense? And of course the teacher said, we are innocent. We have nothing to do with it. We tried all our best to teach him, about politics and friends and enemies and all this. But whatever your son Prahlada has said was not taught by us. His spontaneous devotional service has naturally developed in him, because they didn't know that Narada Muni had instructed him in the womb. They knew there was nobody had come into the ashram. So it's very mysterious how this boy, where did he get it from? And later on we will see the classmates will ask the same question. How is this possible? So therefore, don't be angry with us, because it's not good to insult a Brahmana. Obviously, Brahmanas. So now he becomes very angry with Prahlada. You rascal, you most fallen of our family. You have not received this education from your teachers, then where did you get it from? And he wants to know, just to also take maybe some action against the rascal. So then now comes another instruction by Prahlada Maharaj. We'll see, very important also. Matiyana Krishna Paratak Svatova Matiyana Krishna Paratak Svatova Mito Vipadyeta Griha Ratanam Mito Vipadyeta Griha Ratanam Ananta Govir Shatam Tamislam Ananta Govir Shatam Tamislam Charita Charvananam Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. We see a part of Prabhupada's purport. Actually, Prabhupada mentions when he quotes this verse sometimes that Prahlada Maharaj wanted to pacify his father, telling him, don't worry, you will never become Krishna conscious. Whether you try to understand it, or you make an effort combined, or whatever you try to do, no problem. You will never become influenced by the enemy. So Prabhupada says, Hiranyakashipu wanted to know where Prahlada had gotten this Krishna consciousness. Who had taught him? And Prahlada sarcastically replied, my dear father, persons like you never understand Krishna. One can understand Krishna only by serving a Mahat, a great soul. Those who try to adjust material conditions are said to be chewing the chewed. No one has been able to adjust material conditions, but life after life, generation after generation, people try and repeatedly fail. Unless one is properly trained by a Mahat or Mahatma, an unalloyed devotee of the Lord, there is no possibility of one's understanding Krishna and his devotional service. So very important instruction. This Punah Charvita Charananam, so many times Prabhupada quotes this, because it's the typical way of life in this world. As he says, repeatedly one tries to adjust material conditions, but repeatedly, generation after generation, life after life, this fails because it's not possible. Krishna says, Dukhalayama Shashvatam, the world is a place of suffering, it's temporary, so we cannot stop that, like we cannot stop the influence of time, which is destroying everything. We try this, as we know, all efforts in science, especially in medicine, is meant to somehow or other stop the influence of time, or at least make it slower, right? In Silicon Valley, there are several tech billionaires who are funding companies who are trying to find out how to reverse the aging process. They're spending not millions, they're spending billions. There's one guy who's now 46, 45, 46, who is following a very rigid program of trying to stop old age. I mean, really, it's like more austere than any brahmachari in the ISKCON temple ashrama. And getting up also at like 4:30 in the morning, going to bed at 8:30, no smoking, no drinking, not even soft drinks or anything which could influence the health in a bad way. That means no Simply Wonderfuls, nothing fried and ghee. Very austere. Then so many supplements. It's practically every few minutes he has to take a little supplement of something. And then he gets blood from his son and from his father, a combination, a cocktail. And they say, yes, injections, transfusions of blood. Well, the demonic process, but if you get younger blood, maybe you don't get old so quickly. So they say, and then they have some photograph, although he's now 46, he looks like 35. Okay. A great achievement. Yeah. So when you become 95, you look like 85. you reach 105, okay, now you look like 95. And then it's one point, it's finished. You can't. They try and they think one day we will come to this, we will actually conquer death. It's exactly like Hiranyakashipu. But of course his austerities, they cannot. They try it with this mechanic science. Hiranyakashipu practically did it. He practically in one sense became immortal. If it wasn't for Nisringadev, who was beyond the 3 modes of material nature, and he could fulfill all the promises of Brahma and still kill him, he wouldn't have been killed. He was immune, so to speak. So anyway, but normally it's life after life. We try to adjust material conditions so that we can live forever and very happily, and we fail. So then, next very famous instruction is this one. Nate vidu svartagatim vishnu. Nate vidu svartagatim vishnu. Durashraya eva hirartamana. Durashraya eva hirartamana. Andaya tandaya rupanyamanas. Andaya tandaya rupanyamanas. Tevyam shatantriyam gurudamni bhadham. Tevyam shatantriyam gurudamni bhadham. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men, led by another materially attached man, are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. And in the purport, the Prabhupada says, generally speaking, practically everyone is unaware of the spiritual world. The knowledge of the materialists is restricted within the 4 billion mile limit of this material world, which is in the dark portion of the creation. And they do not know that beyond the material world is the spiritual world. Unless one is a devotee of the Lord, one cannot understand the existence of the spiritual world. Gurus, teachers who are simply interested in this material world are described in this verse as andha, blind. Such blind men may lead many other blind followers without true knowledge of material conditions, but they are not accepted by devotees like Prahlada Maharaj. Such blind teachers, being interested in the external material world, are always bound by the strong ropes of material nature. So very simple logic. The basic problem, for example, if maybe tomorrow we may speak about this, why people are, how you can say, they are completely absorbed in material life only, materialistic way of life, because they have no idea, they are unaware of the spiritual dimension of life. Here Prabhupada says they don't know that the spiritual world exists, or even that a spirit soul exists. And materialism means it's all matter, there's nothing else. And therefore, all interests, as we saw in this verse, Natevidu, Svartagatini Vishnu, they don't know that the real interest is spiritual, not material. So, but they are then also accepted as leaders, and so many people just follow andha blindly, and ultimately everyone falls into the ditch, which means repeated birth and death in this world. So this is the last of Prahlada's instructions to his father, which is about where to get this, or how to get this spiritual knowledge. Oops, we have to chant this. Back here. Naisham matistava guru pramandri. Naisham matistava guru pramandri. Strishatyananta paramoya artha. Mahiyasam pararajopi shekam. Mahiyasam pararajopi shekam. Vishtim shananam navrinitanyava. Vishtim shananam navrinitanyava. Unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnava, completely freed from material contaminations, persons very much inclined toward materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord in this way, one can be freed from material contamination. So I think, well, this is the, now Prahlada has given this last instruction, and now Hiranyakashipu, he doesn't want to, he becomes really angry and throws him off and tells his servants, his assistants, that take him away, he deserves to be killed. So kill him as soon as possible. And this is then the solution. If you don't want to hear all these kinds of things from your son, you come even to the point of wanting to kill him. So as we know, now he also, he becomes, Hiranyakashipu, as we know, he's not just ignorant and stupid. He knows philosophy. And you can see this in the beginning of the 7th canto, because the demons had been killed, Hiranyaksha had been killed by the demigods, and people were lamenting. And he gives instructions, very philosophical, about the soul is eternal and we should not, as Krishna says to Arjuna, something like that. So anyway, here he's now speaking philosophy. And from his point of view, this makes sense. Of course, he says, although a medicinable herb being born in the forest does not belong to the same category as a man, if beneficial, it is kept very carefully. And similarly, if someone outside one's family is favorable, he should be given protection like a son. On the other hand, if a limb of one's body is poisoned by disease, it must be amputated so that the rest of the body may live happily. Similarly, even one's own son, if unfavorable, must be rejected, although born of one's own body. It's true. I mean, it's logical. We can agree. Of course, he doesn't know what is favorable and unfavorable, so that is the problem. But still, he now, because the demons are instructed, as we know, they try to kill him in so many different ways, but Krishna is there to protect him, so whatever they do does not have any effect, and he is protected. They can even throw him off a cliff. There we see Krishna comes and will catch him. So then, when he found out that there was no possibility to kill him, he becomes really depressed. What to do now? And but the teachers, they come to him and tell him, "Don't worry. Now we will continue to teach him, and so little by little he will be becoming fully convinced of mundane religion, economic development, sense gratification, all our different, like you have geography and history and mathematics and this and that, so they have economic development, sense gratification, and so-called mundane religion. So this will be the next time. Now they will take their time, let them instruct, and then we'll see on Monday what happens. Next, stay tuned. The next chapter in this saga will be what happens when the teachers try to instruct Prahlada, and instead of being instructed, he will instruct. Part 2 of Prahlada's teachings. All right. Comments or questions?
The question is about the mundane religion which you talked about. What was it? What did they, as you know, there was a scene where Hiranyakashipu says to Prahlada Maharaj that you're not learning what you're learning from the teachers, you're learning something else. So what was it that he was supposed to learn, and what was the mundane religion? And why was there no, the knowledge of Bhagavad Dharma back then in the education for Prahlada Maharaj?
Why there was no? Can you repeat that in a simple way? I mean, for me, I'm a simple man.
Yeah, the simple question is like, why was there no the knowledge of Bhagavad Dharma in his education of Prahlada Maharaj?
Okay. Well, I think we heard that the demons, they had a different curriculum for that, because they're teaching all the sons of the demons. So you want your son to be a demon. If you're a demon, you want like devotees, if they have a son, you want to be your son, you want to be a devotee. Maybe yes, maybe no, we don't know. But they are, like in this case also, he tried, because they want to, if you're a materialist, it's very natural. You want to have your children, sons or daughters, to be like you, or even better like you. Like they say, yes, the father becomes proud, of course, if the son excels him in whatever, like if he's a businessman, and he becomes a millionaire, and then the son becomes a billionaire. Well, the father takes pride and credit because, I produced this person, first of all. I educated him. Whatever he knows from me. And now he is me in another form, becoming more and more rich and powerful or whatever. So they have no interest. Nate vidu sarta gatim. What, as Prahlada says, you don't know your real interest. You're interested in conquering enemies, conquering the universe, practically speaking. I mean, Hiranyakashipu became very powerful after, Brahma revived him, practically speaking, with his nectar from his Kamandalu, he was sitting in the palace of Indra. Indra had been kicked out. The demigods had to hide behind the clouds. So they were then praying as they generally do, my Lord, now you have to come. You have to solve this problem because the demons are very powerful. So they have a completely different goal in life or interest. Their self-interest is to become, what is it? Healthy, wealthy, not wise. Healthy, wealthy, famous, and especially strong. Yeah, wealthy means rich. And very powerful physically and mentally also, but for other purposes. So therefore, like I said, this tech billionaire, they take a lot of austerity to do that. Just as Hiranyakashipu performed severe austerities to come to this point. So nowadays people also do this. Like, I think today or yesterday, Clint Eastwood became 94. It's in the news, great news, and then they say, how is it that he has been living so long? And yes, very strict regimen of diet and exercise and this and that, just to go on and on and on and on and on and on. Like this little rabbit from Duracell, it just goes on and on and on and on until the battery finally is finished, and then you stop. But the goal is to just go on and on as long as possible with full power of the senses. Another of my favorite examples is Hugh Hefner. You may not, if you don't know him, good for you. We old guys, we know this man. He also became 91, and he had sex with several bunnies until the end of his life. That's his goal of life, just to enjoy until the body just stops someday, maybe by a heart attack. But that's the goal. So therefore, Hiranyakashipu, this was his goal. The teachers were very clearly instructed, this you have to teach and nothing else. No Bhagavata, religion, obviously. That's completely opposite. Because what is Prahlada teaching him is just, therefore he becomes angry. What are you telling me? You have to give up this andakupan, this blind well. You're in a blind well. You're always in anxiety because you're identified with something temporary. This is all foolish. You are stupid. So.
But question. But even if it was Satyug, why was it not so? Why was not Bhagavatam so famous?
It was, but not for everybody.
Even for
No, I mean, we say Satya Yoga, right?
Yeah.
So practically, not 100%. Material was nothing is 100%. So most of the people living were very much advanced spiritually. But there were some, like this Hiranyakashipu, who were big demons. It's a very small, let's say 99% of the population is spiritual and 1% is materialistic. But this 1%, like we see in this case, they are very, very materialistic. Like it's Satya Yoga, so therefore everything is more powerful and more prominent compared to other yugas. Like now we only live 100 years, but in those days it was 100,000 years. So enough time to enjoy. But the mentality, even you may live surrounded by spiritual people, but you may be completely in Maya. Depends on your desires. So, theoretically the circumstances were very favorable for spiritual life. But if you don't want to, nothing will stop you. Only Nishingadev will stop you at the end. Or if not, material nature for sure will stop you. But that they don't see. Apashyatam apashyati. That was, the Prabhupada quotes this from the second canto. They see pashyati and apashyatam. They don't see. So you see something, but you don't really understand what it means. So it means you don't see. It's a very clear verse. So a materialistic person is like that. Like this famous riddle that Yamaraj gives to Yudhishthira. What's the most amazing thing, right, in this world? That ahani, ahani. We see, everybody sees. every single day, because nowadays more than ever, it's not just a newspaper. You just have 24 hours, 24/7, as they say, 7 days a week. All the time, you can just get some information what's happening wherever in the world. And what is in the news? Anything happening which is bad. Good news is no news. Nobody's interested in any good news. If it's bad news, then I would like to see that. How many were killed? Only 100, that's nothing. I mean, nowadays, if you have a shooting in America, where normally the shootings take place, right? If only 2 or 3 are shot, it's not news. It definitely is not on the front page.
Yes.
It must be more than 20, 30, maybe then it becomes a headline. But in the beginning, when it happened for the first times, any time it happened, even 1 or 2 people were shot by somebody in the school, unheard of. It became news. Anyway, the point is that we see this, we understand that even in Gaza, babies or small children will die. It's not a matter of old age, but we don't see. It will not, well, it may happen to those people, but not to me. Right? Everybody thinks like that. So, very strange. So that's the point, that, even in Satyayuga there may be some demons. Everything looks very spiritual, but I'm not interested. Yeah.
Now it's the opposite.
Well, yeah.
So very few spiritual people and more materialists.
Right. And still, yeah, so. Who was the first one?
Oh.
Or you can,
Yeah, there's a little,
preference to it. The smaller, the more preference.
Theirs is the future.
Okay, so let's speak the future.
Yes.
Hm?
Können Sie Deutsch?
Deutsch.
Ja, doch, immer noch.
Ah,
Aber gebrochenes Deutsch. Entweder Spanisch oder Englisch.
Let me translate for you. Just speak.
Ja, kein Problem.
Danke für den Lecture, Maharaja.
Was?
Danke für den Lecture.
Ja, bitteschön. Keine Ursache.
Meine Frage ist, warum ist Indra, bevor die Frau von Hiranyakashipu zu töten, nicht zu Vishnu gegangen, damit er weiß, was passiert?
Ja, das habe ich jetzt nicht mitgekriegt, weil deine Schwester, die hat zu viel Lernen gemacht. Okay. Versuch nochmal.
Lauter.
Schon immer.
Meine
Am besten
Frage
mit Mikrofon.
Mikrofon, das ist natürlich auch eine Möglichkeit. Jetzt kriegst du ein Mikrofon, aber wow, look at that.
Ich habe das auch hören.
Das stimmt.
Alexa is aber beautiful.
Yeah. And I have to translate anyway into English again. Oh, I don't have a microphone. Okay, lass mal hören.
Warum ist Indra nicht zu Vishnu gegangen, bevor er die Frau von Hiranyakashipu töten wollte?
Boah, eine gute Frage. Müsste man Indra mal fragen. No, the question was, yes, why did Indra not go to Vishnu instead of just taking Hiranyakashipu's wife and wanted to kill her? Well, I mean, he was probably convinced. You understand my English? It's okay? Oh, deine Schwester übersetzt. Okay, sehr gut. Erstaunlich. I don't think he doubted that there was any need to go to Vishnu. Yeah? I mean, from a normal point of view, if the wife of the biggest demon is pregnant, how will the baby be? Will be a demon, no? That's the natural conclusion. So he didn't have any doubt that this was a big demon, was to come. And I mean, he was very civilized. Nowadays, you just kill the pregnant mother. Finished. But he, let her live, give birth, then kill just the demon child, let the mother live. I mean, he was very civilized in that sense. Right? Nowadays, you just shoot her and that's all. Finished. No botheration. Yeah, so okay? Okay.
thank you, Maharaja, for this very beautiful pictures. They are very inspiring also.
Well, let's go to,
Yeah.
The singer did.
Oh.
Long enough, I didn't realize we are all the time, a depressed on the screen. And he doesn't know what to do about this. Because they're trying to kill him with normally even one of the methods would be sufficient. Nobody can survive an elephant or snakes, poisonous snakes, or boiling oil, or being thrown from a cliff. I mean, they didn't try to hang him, but there's nothing like shoot him. Even if they wanted to shoot him, probably would just Vishnu hold his hand and catches the bullet. Anyway, so yeah.
So you have, as I mentioned in the beginning, that there are people who don't know, who have any idea that there is a spiritual world.
Well, yeah, Prabhupada said generally people are unaware that there is a spiritual world.
Yeah. So my question is it connected to this point that the people don't know or don't have the knowledge about the God? Because, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that for some kind of people he is hidden.
Right.
So as my question is the knowledge of the spiritual world is connected with the knowledge of Krishna?
Obviously.
Yes.
Even, as I said, also to the soul. Anything spiritual. I mean, spiritual world means there's Krishna, there's the devotees, and there's all kinds of. What does it mean, a world? A world means living entities and all kinds of manifestations. So as it said, this world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So whatever we see here exists there in a pure form. There are houses, there are trees, there are men, women, children, cows, peacocks, and I think Krishna also has a pet dog, I heard. Never heard this before. Yeah, I mean, they're not like these dogs here, they're spiritual dogs. No, why not? There's all kinds of things, flowers, rivers, and mountains, but it's different kind of nature, higher nature. Yeah, spiritual world means God, living entity, and all kinds of manifestations. Variety, not just some spiritual energy floating around, which sometimes people think because spiritual means the opposite of material, because everything material means what we see, so this cannot be. When it's spiritual, there's nothing like this. It's completely different. Not necessarily. Also, but not just that. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, you can.
Maharaj, somewhere in the...
You have to speak up also.
When you were...
Because it's...
I can speak your words. Okay.
Thank you.
So, somewhere in when you were showing the purports and explanation, there was mentioned that for a person who is materialistic and having a lot of materialistic desires, one of the only hope is that he smear his body with the dust of the lotus feet of Vaishnavas. So what is so special about the dust of the lotus feet of Vaishnavas? What is there in this dust?
No, that's a good question. I can only just repeat what is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it's mentioned that I think it's 4 substances, right? It's the dust, it's the water that washes the feet, it's the remnants of the food, and maybe there's some more which I don't remember. They are called spiritually potent substances. So when one comes in contact, there's purification. We may not perceive it, you touch the dust and then something, miraculous happens. This famous idea of somebody's touching your forehead and then there's some enlightenment, you see lights and stars and things, and comes out and I've seen the light or something like this. That's the more subtle. but supposedly it's very powerful and works. Therefore it says, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastri Koila, Gunadra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy, even for a moment's association with a sadhu. It could be receiving the instructions or coming in contact with the dust or the water that had washed the feet, etc. Then one becomes influenced spiritually, or even depending on your receptivity, you may become transformed. Right? So, but that's Prahlada Maharaj that tells that his father. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, I have two questions now related to this question which Prabhu asked. Came in my mind. What does it mean? I have heard that even if the Vaishnava forgive, the dust of the lotus feet doesn't forgive. So we have to how to understand. I mean.
You mean offense?
When we do offense.
When there's an offense, then the Vaishnava may forgive, but the dust doesn't forgive. We would have to see the quote. I remember at least Prabhupada said that Krishna doesn't forgive, which may be related, because in a sense, well, I don't know. We have to see the quote. Thinking about it, it doesn't seem to be logical. Why? Because if the Vaishnava really forgives, Krishna forgives. That's my understanding. Case in point is Durvasa Muni, right? He looks for protection after he offended Maharaj Ambarish, and he goes all over the universe, as we know. He goes to Brahma, Shiva, they say we cannot. And then he comes to Vishnu, and what does Vishnu say? Hridayam Sadhunam Mayam, the sadhus are in my heart, I am in their heart, and you have to go to Maharaj Ambarish. If you get his forgiveness, then the Sudarshan Chakra will stop chasing you. So I think that's my understanding, that if you ask for forgiveness in the real way, not fake, tears, but really being, repenting, then the Vaishnava, as Prabhupada, is very merciful and then will forgive. And then Krishna will also forgive, but otherwise not. So
I have to.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said in regards to Haridas Thakur, that he was chanting, he was criticized. Even there was a demon who kind of told him everything nasty. And then there's the part that says that the devotee might forgive Krishna knows. Because Krishna sees that it's really sincere, whereas the devotee pardons easily. How is it? Yeah. Whereas Krishna has a different, having more complete vision.
So one has to be really repentant, because that's a point. If somebody said, "Oh, please excuse me," but it doesn't really mean it. So the Vaishnava may mercifully just, I don't even take offense. But Krishna knows, he's in the heart, that this is not really. He doesn't really ask for forgiveness. So then he will not forgive. We can be very careful. Yeah. Then your nose may fall off. That's the story with Chapala, Upala Chapala. Was he the one that criticized Haridas Thakur for glorifying the holy name? And he was not believing in the power of the holy name, something like that. And he was arguing, was in the house of the uncles of, was Raghunath. Raghunath Das Goswami and Haridas Thakur, something like that. So, and then later on, he became afflicted by leprosy because of his offense. Of course, I don't think he asked for forgiveness, but better is not to offend, and then you don't have to ask for forgiveness, and there's no Maybe Krishna will accept, maybe not. So you're safe.
May I ask a second question? And how can we understand that Krishna saved Prahlada Maharaja? He came personally, or how to understand it? That he survived all this, how to say?
Whatever way, I don't know. We have some, inspired painting from devotees where Krishna comes and just saves him. How exactly? How do I know? It's not. If it's not described, then how do we know? But we know he was not affected. How? Somehow or other, he was not affected. Maybe the elephant foot was like, he couldn't go further than a few centimeters above Prahlad, because Krishna is in the heart of the elephant. He just makes him stop the foot, can't. And the snake, they may try to bite, but they can't. I don't know. We are speculating now. Then they strike with weapons, but the weapon doesn't cut. Somehow or other, he was protected. That's what we know. Yeah. Yes.
Are there any sort of pastimes of Narasimhadev, like how Narasimhadev came into being, or he just came on the day when he wanted to save Prahlada Maharaj? Or he just was it like?
There must be some other, like Nisingha Purana, as far as I know. But because Prabhupada didn't give it to us, I don't know. I just know basically what's in his books. I haven't read the Nisingha Purana or any other, some scripture somewhere. There's so many pastimes. Sometimes devotees come with so many pastimes. Where did you get this from? And especially in Vrindavan, there are all kinds of weird pastimes. And then sometimes somebody comes to me, I have heard, and always ask, where did you hear that? Oh, somebody in Vrindavan said it. Okay, that's it, finished. Show me where this is somewhere in Prabhupada's books. No, somebody said. Somebody said, somebody can say so many things. So anyway, we sing up more pastimes. I don't know. We have the seventh canto. Whatever is the seventh canto, I know. Anything else? I'm not sure. Could be, could not be. You have to ask Maharaj.
Yeah, we went to Ahovala.
Aha.
And
Ahovala, Nisingha. Yeah. It's a holy place in South India.
Yeah. And there's a column still.
The column.
And they say the column is a column where Nisingha came out.
Aha.
But there were also some details there which were not congenial, yet. And so we heard that Nisingha appears at different times. And the pastimes are not always exactly the same. That's why there were some contradictions.
Anyway, who knows? There's some, like with Varaha, there's different yugas where he appears, and it said what we see in the third canto is an amalgamation. It's a combination of the red one and the white one and this. So, yeah. I mean, it's Nitya Lila, and it's unlimited and eternal, so it's
multiple.
There might maybe so many different things. But ultimately, the main point is he came to save the life. And if we follow in his footsteps, and therefore Prabhupada gave us these prayers also to sing after every artik, for the protection, also for protection of this movement and the devotees. But ultimately it's up to the Lord if he wants to protect or not. He knows best. Maybe we don't deserve it, or we need to learn a lesson by not being protected. Who knows? So we shouldn't become resentful if we're not treated like Prahlada Maharaj. If our father becomes an enemy and wants to do us harm, we can pray, but who knows? Better run. All right, I think we're good. It's 1 minute after 8 o'clock, so I'm safe. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada.